Okay, I think we are recording. So I'm doing this through Zoom because the platform I usually use was not working. I recorded a couple times and it wouldn't upload. So I'm trying something else. So we are going to go into the next steps for the UC, and it doesn't want to go to the next slide first. There we go. Okay, so applying to the UC. So UCs typically only admit upper division transfer students. There are some exceptions to that. So for instance, in the past, UC Davis's College of Agriculture has admitted lower division transfer students. I know there have been situations where UC Santa Cruz has admitted students that were lower division transfer students. So it just varies by campus, and you would need to do that research and talk with the admissions reps about being a lower division transfer student, meaning you have less than 60 transferable units. The UC application for transfer students in the fall, you would apply October 1st to November 30th, but the application actually opens on August the 1st. So they give you plenty of time to get it done. You can start it and then hit submit on October the 1st. If you are looking to be a mid-year transfer student to transfer in winter or spring, the campus has to be open to accepting applications for mid-year transfers, and you would apply between July 1st and 30th. In the past few years, the campuses that have been open are UC Santa Cruz, UC Merced, and UC Riverside. The UC application itself is pretty easy to use. So it's one application for all 9 campuses. And you just go through, you start by indicating which campuses you want to apply to and what major you want to do. So you can do different majors at different campuses, that's fine, as long as if you tagged, the major's the same between the tag and the campus you're applying to for that tag. So the UC created their own application. It's fairly easy to use. It goes fairly quickly, and it doesn't get as bogged down as the CSU application does. So students typically move through the UC application pretty fast without having any issues. As part of the application, you're going to answer 4 insight questions. So there's 7 insight questions total. 1 is mandatory, and then you choose 3 others to answer. And we'll be talking about those insight questions later on in the class. Within the application, you're going to report all college classes you have taken and all those grades that you've received, no matter what they were. If you took them out of the country, if you took them while you were in high school, if you didn't pass a class, if you withdrew from a class, it all goes into the UC application. And then the UC has an application update that you do in the month of January. And that update would include your fall grades for the previous semester. And then if in spring your class schedule has changed, you can report that in the update as well. It does not, when you do your fall grades, they're not using those as part of the admissions decision. They look at you from what was your GPA at the time you submitted the application, okay? So if your GPA went up with your fall grades, that's not taken into consideration, so keep that in mind. If you hadn't passed, let's say, statistics once or twice and you were in it in fall, you can bet they're making sure that you've passed it that 3rd time. So they do look at it for that type of things, for those types of things, for patterns, but they do not count grades as for GPA as part of the admissions process. So keep that in mind. All right. Then the cost of attending the UC. So if you're living on campus, they report it's about $38,500, and if you're living off campus, it's $35,600. And then the tuition and fees for full-time students is about $13,000 per academic year, and that is kind of a hard rule for UC that students be full-time. Of course, they're not going to make you be full-time in your last term if you don't have a full-time schedule, but their expectation is that you will be a full-time student, you will progress through your education and move along to graduation without it taking too long. The CSU will allow you to be part-time. So this page breaks down the tuition and cost of attendance, and they have a video here that you could watch. They talk about their UC Blue and Gold opportunity, which is if your family makes less than $80,000 a year and your tuition wasn't all picked up by the FAFSA or the California Dream Act, then they will step in and cover the remaining of your tuition, not your room and board, your tuition. And then they report more than 56% of UC undergrads pay no tuition. So that's something to think about, that they do have a very strong financial aid program. And this is how they're breaking down the cost. So the tuition, the campus fees, books and supplies, health, housing and meals, which you can see as the highest, and your personal or transportation. So some of these may be lower for you. Maybe your housing wouldn't be $14,000 because you have a relative you could live with, but maybe your transportation is going to be more because that relative lives 30 minutes away from campus. And so gas is going to be more, whatever it might be. So they're giving you an estimate here. So that's something to think about. The UC's kind of mindset is a third of this cost will be covered by you, the student, a third would be covered by your family, and a third would be covered by the UC. So that's kind of how they think about the tuition for students. And then the last slide here is just about taking a tour and the importance of that. So, set up those road trips for yourself, go visit campuses, see how you feel on that campus. Things are still a little bit tricky, so it's important that you reach out prior to going to find out, do you need to have the tour scheduled? Do you have to show proof of COVID vaccine? What is it all about? Could you sit in a class? Can you speak with somebody in the department? And then there's also, at least in the past, there were a lot of special events that students could go to, particularly in the spring. The campuses would do like an open house day. At UC Davis, it's called Picnic Days, where all of the buildings were open and the clubs were out, and you could go take a tour of the campus, and just a lot going on. So it's a really fun event. If you're not going to one of those big events, then really try to go during the week and not on a weekend, so that you can really get a feel for the campus. My sister just took my niece to UC Santa Cruz, and my niece said, "No way, there's too many hills here. I'm not coming here." So, it's those things like that may be mentioned or shown in the tour virtually, but when you physically get there and you see it for yourself, you can decide, this is not the right fit for me, or, oh my gosh, I'm absolutely in love, whatever it might be. Okay. So, and then as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And for homework this week, you will be doing virtual tours so you can get a feel for some of the UC campuses.